ARCS Guide to Resources. Today we're going to go over all the resources in ARCS and then explain what each of them does, their distribution on the board, and how you can combo them to get really good actions in the game. So first of all, let's go over resources themselves. We have material, fuel, weapons, relics, and psionics. You start the game with 2 resources, depending on your leader card or where you start in the game if you are playing without leaders. Those resources can give you a very big lead in the early game if you use them correctly. Each resource does one ability during the prelude. The prelude is after you've played a card, but before you perform any actions on the card. It is also after you declare ambition if you are declaring ambition. So keep that in mind, that you cannot declare ambition after you perform your resource action. 4 of these resources give you an additional action. Weapons do not. So we'll talk about weapons last. First, we'll talk about material. Material allows you to repair or build. Repairing is flipping a damaged piece back to its undamaged state anywhere on the board. Building is building a unit in a system you control or a damaged unit in a system you do not control. You can build buildings in any system with an empty slot, though here white would not have control, so it would come in damaged. Building ships is the same thing. If you build a ship at a starport someone else controls, so say yellow had more ships here than white, and white built a ship here. White could still build a ship here, but it would come into play damaged, and they would still not have control. Material's pretty simple. It can be really helpful early game to establish control of various places. Say you took a move to the psionic resource, you could, in a previous action, or you had ships here, you could use a material to build on this location, and then use the administration tax action to tax a psionic immediately afterwards. Next, we have the fuel resource. Fuel allows you to take the move action. That's pretty simple and straightforward. It allows you, say you are, white here, and you want to get to the psionic resource, but the lead card is construction. Well, construction lets you build a repair, which is great if you are there, but you're not there yet. So you play a fuel, you move your ships, and then you can copy or surpass to use construction and build. Or you could, of course, use the material resource right after the fuel resource to build. That's a very common early game combo, is fuel and then material to move and then immediately build somewhere to get out some cities and star bases early on, as well as get those resources taxed or just establish control in a system. Skipping weapon for now. Next up we have relics, which allow you to secure a court card. So in the game you're going to have court cards out. It only allows you to secure, not influence. So you have to have already influenced the card, but then it allows you to immediately secure regardless of the actions you were taking. So again, if construction's out, there's no aggression, there's no secure, and you don't have an aggression card or you don't want to play your aggression card, you can secure with the relic first, gain court card that you want, reveal the new one, etc., capture any agents on that card, and then to perform your construction action or whatever action you're wanting to perform. It is worth noting, though, that you cannot take the prelude actions of cards that you have gained on the same turn that you gain them. So if I was to secure this mining interest with a relic, I couldn't then immediately use its prelude ability of discarding it to gain material until my next prelude. Next, we have Psionic. Psionic lets you take the action of the lead card. And that is any of the actions of the lead card. You get to take one of those actions. So, if construction is the lead card, you get to build or repair. If aggression is the lead card, you get to battle, move, or secure. This makes Psionic very versatile, as it can do anything the other resources let you do, except for weapon in a way. But then also lets you do tax or influence, which there's not a resource to allow you to do. But it is limited by that lead card. So if you are the player with initiative, you can play the lead card and play a Psionic to essentially get an extra pip on that card. But if you are not the player in initiative, say you were this last player and you have your ships in a system and you want to build something there first before you move, or you only have one ship by your star base and you want to, actually, let's just say you have no ships by your star base, you don't have any material, you want to build a ship by your starport, you play a Psionic on your aggression, build a ship, and then you can use aggression to move and then battle. Psionic also does a lot with combos. Because it's one of those actions from the card during your prelude, you can do a lot of fancy things of taking actions and then using other resources or other psionics to take additional actions that you would otherwise not be able to do. So a common combo is to psionic and then relic with an administration card. So say administration is first, and it doesn't matter which one of card you are. You know, if you have initiative or if you're one of the later cards, if you play psionic, you can influence a card, and then you play a relic and you secure that card, all during your prelude, all at the same time. Now, of course, that requires you to be tied on the card that you're going to secure. So either there are no agents on it at all, or you have the same number of agents as someone else. But it's definitely a combo to keep in mind, is that anyone with a psionic and a relic can immediately secure something that's on the deck if an administration card comes out, or another option for that is mobilize, which also lets you influence. Additionally, these cards can give you actions. While you can't use the prelude action, you can use the non-prelude abilities and actions during your turn. So if you secured a card during prelude and then you're using construction pips, that's build or repair, manufacture lets you build to gain material, you can just immediately use that manufacture ability. Finally, we have the weapons resource. Weapons resource is really interesting because instead of giving you one extra action of a specific kind, it instead adds the battle action to the card you played. So say you played this for construction with 3 pips. Well, that gives you 3 build or repair actions. If you play a weapons resource, now you can do build, repair, or battle with any of those pips. So say, again, say I have say we're tied in this system, and I have 2 ships, and yellow has 2 ships. Well, I can, with the weapons resource, play this construction, build a ship there, and then battle with my remaining 2 pips. And I only have to use 1 battle resource to battle with those 2 pips. Rolled no hits, but sometimes that's just how it goes. Weapons combos really well with the move resource because moving before you battle, say over here, and then battling here, can be very valuable, and that essentially lets you take the aggression card regardless of what cards are actually on the table. Psionic can also be valuable in that way because with mobilization and aggression, it allows you to do a move action. Though weapons on an aggression card would not be very useful. You are allowed to use weapons on an aggression card if you want to. Just it'll have essentially no effect. Now, let's look at distribution on the board. So, this is a setup for a 2-player game, but I've also drawn out the distribution for the entire map. So, on the entire map, there are 5 material slots, 6 fuel slots, 6 weapon slots, 5 relic slots, and 4 psionic slots. So psionics are generally going to be rarer in your games. This also lends to them being more valuable. They're very versatile. They're going to be rare. And so the empath ambition is going to be hard to contest compared to weapons, which doesn't have the ambition, but can become across very easily. And fuel and material, which, especially fuel and material for Tycoon, it's very easy to contest the Tycoon ambition just by taxing resources. Where with psionics and even relics, you might have to focus a bit more on the guild cards. I would say if you wanted just a straight comparison of what resources are the best, like a tier list, psionics are the best resource because of their versatility and their rarity. Holding on to psionics can be just as good as playing psionics, which is really important for the game. It can give you a big lead with the empath ambition, and even just having the threat of being able to take any action from the lead card can influence a little bit of how people play their cards. Then I would say weapons are the next best because battling is so valuable in this game. Being able to raid on any card, even if it's not an aggression card, and steal court cards or steal resources from people is very, very valuable, especially for getting your ambitions. And then also because Warlord is tied up in combats, that's also very important. Next, I would say that relics are pretty good, and they just barely edge out over fuel, but especially later in the game, securing court cards very fast and quick before people can contest you on them can do a lot for your ambitions, but also court cards in general will give you a lot of good abilities. And then fuel is also very good, especially in the early game when you're trying to get your ships across the board and establish structures on planets. And then, of course, with fuel is material, which really is valuable early in the game, but kind of wanes later in the game after a lot of cities are out and star bases, and your ships are tied up in people's trophy section, or you have them all out on the board. Material can just fall to the wayside. So that's the sort of tier list I would put them at. That said, you should definitely not neglect taking materials. If you have a material planet and you're taxing, tax the planets you have and try to perform your strategy to get an edge on that resource. It's very helpful when you're going for these ambitions to leave yourself open to contest other ambitions, but try to give yourself a dominance in one of them. So if you start near the psionic planets or close enough to, move and then build on them, that can be a very valuable place to put a city so that you can have dominance on empath, especially if you start with a court deck with no psionic symbols on the deck. That's my guide to the ARCS resources. Thanks for watching, and keep tuned for more ARCS strategy.